Captain Elias Ward stood at the edge of a strange valley, his boots sinking slightly into the soft blue soil. The sky above shimmered in shades of violet unlike anything on earth. Twin suns hung low, casting long golden shadows across the land. He paused, lifted his visor, and looked around with cautious wonder. He was a long way from home, but his mission was clear: explore, record, and return with knowledge. The planet, marked in human star charts only as LX947, was quiet, almost too quiet. No wind rustled the towering silver-leafed trees. No birds or insects buzzed in the air. Yet Elias felt eyes on him. His training as a survey officer told him to trust that feeling. Day 1, surface entry, he spoke into his recorder. His voice echoed softly inside the helmet. Environment stable, breathable atmosphere confirmed. Terrain safe for limited exploration. Continuing sample collection, he knelt and pulled a scanner from his kit. The soil gave strange readings rich in minerals not found anywhere in the human colonies. It could mean new energy sources, new medicines, or new trade. His superiors back on Earth would be pleased. But Elias was not here for riches. He loved the search itself, the moment when the unknown revealed itself to human eyes for the first time as he stored the sample. A sound reached him. It was faint, almost like a whisper, but it was there. "What?" The sound repeated, soft but clear, footsteps. Slowly, Elias turned. At first, he saw nothing. Then, from between two glowing trees, a figure stepped out. He raised his visor fully now, wanting no barriers between himself and what he saw. His breath caught. It was a woman, Nor. Something very close to a woman. Her form was tall, graceful, almost human in shape, but her skin was faintly luminous, glowing as if lit by hidden starlight. Her eyes were wide, reflecting not only light, but something deeper, like pools of silver water. Her long hair shimmered as though strands of metal had been woven into it. She stopped a few meters away, tilting her head slightly, studying him with calm intensity. Elias's instincts urged him to keep a hand near his sidearm, but he did not draw it. She looked unarmed, and more importantly, she looked curious rather than hostile. "Human," she said, her voice soft but carrying clearly across the still air. Elias blinked. The word was in English accented, careful but unmistakable. You speak my language." She nodded slowly. "I learned. We listened." He swallowed. This was no ordinary encounter. Most survey missions ended in silence, with only rocks, plants, or the ruins of dead worlds. To meet a living, intelligent being and one that already knew of humans was almost beyond belief. "I am Captain Elias Ward," he said carefully. "Explorer from Earth. I mean no harm." Her gaze did not waver. She stepped closer, each movement fluid and precise. Then she spoke words that made Elias's mind stumble. "What must I do to become yours, human?" For a moment, Elias wondered if he had misheard. The valley was silent again, except for the faint hum of his equipment. He tried to find the right response, but none came quickly. Her tone was not playful or romantic. It was steady, as if she had rehearsed the question many times before. "I don't understand," Elias managed. "Become mine? What do you mean?" The woman blinked slowly, her eyes glowing brighter for a second. "To belong. To walk as you walk. To know as you know." "What must I do?" Elias's heart pounded. His mind rushed through possibilities. Was she testing him? Was this some ritual greeting? Or was it a trick? He had read reports of alien species luring humans with words before revealing hidden danger, but nothing in her calm expression suggested deceit. He took a slow breath. "Perhaps we should start with names. Do you have one?" "Yes," she said softly. "Sci-Fi." Sarai, Elias repeated, grounding himself with the word. "Why do you want to? Become human?" She tilted her head again, studying him as if the answer should be obvious. "Because you are strong. You build. You change, my people. We are fading. We watch. We remember. But we no longer grow. I wish to know how you are different. If I can learn, then maybe. We will not end. Her words carried weight, and Elias felt it. He remembered long nights on Earth, when teachers told stories of old civilizations, some that thrived, others that crumbled. Humanity's gift had always been adaptation, the refusal to give up. To hear an alien speak of it with longing unsettled him. "I can't promise you answers," he said honestly. "I am just one man, but I can listen. I can learn about you too." For the first time, Sci-Fi smiled. It was small, uncertain, but real. "Then you accept?" "I accept." "Conversation," Elias replied carefully. "Let us begin there." The hours that followed were unlike any Elias had ever known. Sci-Fi led him through the glowing forest, showing him plants that responded to her touch, stones that held faint echoes of voices, rivers that shimmered with inner light. She spoke slowly, choosing her words with care. As though each one mattered, Elias in turn shared stories of Earth. He told her of oceans that roared with waves, of cities lit by countless lights, of music that filled the air with joy. Sci-Fi listened with intensity, her silver eyes never leaving him. When he described laughter, she tried to mimic it, the sound awkward but sincere. Elias found himself smiling despite the strangeness. Yet always. Her first question hung between them. "What must I do to become yours, human?" Each time Elias thought of it, he felt both curiosity and unease. What did she truly want? Was it knowledge, companionship, or something deeper? He did not know. Not yet. As the twin suns dipped low, casting long shadows across the valley, Elias realized he had lost track of time. His communicator buzzed softly, reminding him to check in with his ship. He ignored it for a moment, his eyes still on Sci-Fi. "You should return," she said gently, as if reading his thoughts. "Your people will call." Elias nodded. "I'll come back tomorrow." She stepped closer, her glowing skin lighting the darkening air. "And you will answer my question?" "I will try," Elias said, meeting her gaze. "But first, I must understand you better." Sci-Fi lowered her head slightly in what looked like agreement. "Then I will show you more tomorrow." Elias turned to leave, but the weight of her words followed him. He had come for minerals, for charts, for science. Instead, he had found a mystery wrapped in the form of an alien woman who longed to become something she was not, and he knew this was only the beginning. Captain Elias Ward sat inside his small survey ship that night, staring at the recorder on the table. The soft hum of the engines filled the silence, but his mind was restless. The day's events replayed again and again. The glowing trees, the silver rivers, and most of all, Sirtha, alien woman who asked him the strangest question of his life. "What must I do to become yours, human?" He leaned back in his chair, rubbing his eyes. She had not meant romance. He was certain. There had been no signs of it in her voice or face. No, her words carried a different weight. She wanted to become human. But why? What was so important to her about his kind? The communicator buzzed softly. "Ward, status report," came the calm voice of his superior officer, back on the station, orbiting LX 947. Elias hesitated. Should he mention Sci-Fi? If he reported her existence, the council would demand strict protocols containment, study rules upon rules, and Sci-Fi might vanish behind walls of research teams before he even understood her motives. At last he spoke. "Planet stable? Resources promising. Continuing surface survey. Full report tomorrow." Ended the call before they could ask more questions. He needed time to learn the truth for himself. The next morning, Elias returned to the valley. The twin suns were just rising, painting the land in silver and gold. Sci-Fi was waiting, standing near the river that shimmered like liquid crystal. She did not move until he came closer, then she lifted her hand in a slow, graceful greeting. "You came back," she said softly. "I said I would," Elias replied. "I keep my word." She seemed pleased. Together, they began to walk along the water's edge. Birds, if they could be called birds, swooped above, their wings thin like glass, catching the sunlight in rainbows. Elias noticed how the creatures always flew in pairs, never alone. He wondered if Sci-Fi had noticed that too. At last, he asked the question that had burned in him all night. Sci-Fi, why do you want to become human? Why not remain as you are? She was quiet for a long moment. The only sound was the ripple of the strange river. Finally, she spoke. Because my people are fading. We are the Valari. Long ago, we held many stars. We built towers that touched the clouds, and our voices filled the skies. But now, we are only shadows. We remember too much and create too little. Our fire is gone. Elias studied her profile as she spoke. Her silver eyes did not shine with pride, but with sadness. He could almost feel the weight of her words. You believe humanity is different, said slowly. Yes, Sci-Fi whispered. Humans change. You move forward even when you bleed. You make mistakes, but you try again. You rise. I have seen your kind. You fight storms, deserts, emptiness, and you still laugh. We Valari have forgotten how. Elias felt a strange warmth in his chest. To hear humanity described like that through alien eyes was both humbling and stirring. Yet suspicion still lingered. If you admire us so much, how do you already know so much about us? Sci-Fi turned her gaze toward the glowing forest. We watch. For many years, we have listened to your signals, your voices across the stars. We learned your tongue. We learned your songs. But words alone are not enough. I must live as you live. Only then can I know. Her words were clear, yet Elias sensed something deeper behind them. It was not just curiosity. It was desperation. She needed this. But why only her? Why not all of the Valari? Later that day, Sci-Fi guided Elias through the trees until they reached a cliff. Below, spread across the valley floor, was something that made Elias catch his breath. An underground city opened wide to the sky, its entrance hidden by clever natural camouflage. Towers of crystal and stone rose from the ground, glowing faintly as if powered by inner light. Yet, despite its beauty, the city felt quiet. Too quiet. This is one of our homes, Sci-Fi said softly. Few remain awake here. Many sleep. Too many. Elias frowned. Sleep. She nodded. Our people retreat into long rest. Centuries, sometimes. They wait for better days. But better days do not come. Each century, fewer wake. More choose silence. Elias felt a chill. A whole civilization slowly laying itself down, one by one, choosing to fade instead of fight. It was the opposite of humanity's nature. His people struggled, sometimes foolishly, but they never stopped moving. Inside the city, Elias saw Valari walking with slow, graceful steps. They looked similar to Sci-Fi, glowing faintly, but their faces were calm, almost empty. No laughter, no shouting, no rush of life. They moved like echoes. Sci-Fi watched them with sorrow. Do you see now? They are alive, but they are not living. I cannot join them. I want more. That is why I seek to become human. Elias could not deny what he saw. Yet questions still swirled. Why Sci-Fi? Why her, and not all Valari? He asked. She turned to him with steady eyes. Because I am willing to risk. They are not. If I succeed, maybe others will follow. If I fail, then at least I tried. That night, Elias returned to his ship, but sleep would not come. He stared at the ceiling of his cabin, thinking of Sci-Fi's glowing eyes, of the silent city, of her plea. He had come as an explorer, not a teacher, not a guide. Could he really show her what it meant to be human? Was that even possible? He remembered her trying to laugh, awkward but determined. He remembered her words, humans rise. And he wondered, was humanity's greatest strength not its tools or ships, but its will to keep moving forward? The next day, Sci-Fi greeted him with something unexpected. She carried a small device, a crystal sphere that pulsed faintly with light. This is Valari craft, she explained. With it, we can change form, adapt. I could alter my body to be like yours. Elias felt shock. You can change your biology? She nodded calmly. Yes, long ago, Our science was great, but we used it to hide, not to grow. Still, the knowledge remains. If I take your form, I can walk among your kind, learn faster. But I will not use it without your guidance. Tell me, human should I? Elias stared at the sphere. If she truly could become physically human, even partly, then her journey was far more serious than he imagined. This was not just learning culture or words. It was transformation. A dangerous one. He took a slow breath. Sci-Fi. Being human is not only about appearance. It's not about skin or shape. It's about choice, about mistakes, about courage. If you want to understand us, don't just look like us. Live like us. Try, fail, try again. Her eyes widened slightly, then softened. She placed the sphere aside. Then I will wait. I will learn from you first. The rest can come later. Elias felt relief, but also responsibility. He had just taken his first step into something far greater than a survey mission. He was no longer only a watcher of worlds. He was now a bridge between species as the sun set once more. Elias and Sci-Fi stood at the edge of the valley, watching the light fade into night. She spoke quietly, almost to herself. One day, my people will ask why I chose this path. They may call me traitor. They may call me fool. But if I learn to be human, maybe I can teach them to live again. Elias looked at her glowing face in the fading light. For the first time, he understood. Her request was not strange at all. It was a cry for survival, and he realized that his answer might decide not only Sci-Fi's fate, but the future of the Villari themselves. Captain Elias Ward woke before dawn inside his small ship. The stars outside were fading as the twin suns of the planet began to rise. He sat at the edge of his bunk, staring at his hands. He had been through many strange missions, but never one like this. Sci-Fi's words still echoed in his mind. If I succeed, maybe others will follow. If I fail, at least I tried. She was not just curious about humans. She was placing her entire people's future on this choice, to learn from him, to change, to become something new. Elias wondered if he was ready for such responsibility. He was only one man, one explorer, and yet she had chosen him. When he reached the valley, Sci-Fi was already waiting. Her silver eyes reflected the first rays of morning. She greeted him with a calm bow of her head. "Good morning, human," she said softly. Elias smiled faintly. "Good morning, Sci-Fi, and please call me Elias. Humans prefer names over titles." She tilted her head. "Names bring closeness. That is, human." "Yes," Elias said. "A name is a bridge between people." She repeated it slowly. Elias. For a moment, her voice gave the simple word a kind of music. They walked together toward the cliffs where the Villari city waited below. Elias still felt uneasy every time he looked at it. The glowing towers were beautiful, but the silence that hung over them made his skin prickle. The people inside walked with grace but without life. Sci-Fi spoke quietly as they descended. "My people fear change. They say the Villari way must remain forever. But forever has no breath. It is stillness. It is the end." "And you want something different," Elias said. "Yes, I want to live. I want to laugh as you do. I want to make mistakes and rise again. I want to grow." She turned to him, her voice suddenly firm. "Teach me, Elias. Show me what it means to be human." Inside the city, Sci-Fi led him to a wide chamber where a circle of Villari elders waited. Their forms glowed brighter than hers, their presence heavy with authority. Elias felt their silver eyes turn toward him, and for a moment, he felt as though they could see into his soul. One of them spoke, his voice deep and slow. "You bring the human among us, Sci-Fi. Why?" "Because we must learn," Sci-Fi answered boldly. "We cannot fade. We must change. He can show us." The chamber was silent. Then another elder shook her head. "Humans burn too quickly. They rise, yes, but they also destroy. They rush like fire, leaving ash. We are not fire. We are stars. We must endure, not change." Elias felt the weight of their gaze. Part of him wanted to remain silent, but Sarai's eyes were on him, steady and trusting. At last he spoke. Humans are not perfect. We make mistakes, yes. Sometimes we fall, but we always get up again. That is why we survive. To endure without change is not life, it is waiting for death. The chamber echoed with murmurs. Some elders frowned, others seemed thoughtful. You see, Sci-Fi said quickly, he understands what we have forgotten. But the first elder's voice boomed. And what if this path destroys us? What if your human ways end our light forever? Sci-Fi lifted her chin. Then let me be the one to risk it. If I fall alone. But if I rise, my people may rise with me. The council gave no clear answer. At last, Sci-Fi led Elias away, her steps faster than usual, her glowing form brighter with emotion. They will not help me, she said bitterly. They see only danger. But danger is life. Without risk, we are nothing. Elias placed a hand gently on her shoulder. Then the choice is yours, Sci-Fi, not theirs. She stopped, turning to face him. And will you guide me, Elias? Even if it means your leaders will not approve? Elias hesitated. He thought of the council on Earth, of rules and laws about alien contact. If they learned he was teaching her human ways, they would demand control. They would study her, not understand her. But he could not look into her eyes and refuse. Yes, he said firmly, I will guide you. Over the next days, Elias began teaching her simple things about humanity. He told her stories of Earth's oceans and mountains, of children who ran through fields, of artists who painted the skies with colors. Sci-Fi listened closely, her silver eyes wide, sometimes repeating the words as if tasting them. He taught her about humor, about smiling and laughter. At first, she could only mimic the sounds, strange and awkward. But then, one day, when Elias stumbled clumsily over a rock and muttered to himself, Sci-Fi laughed. The sound was pure and light, and Elias froze in surprise. For the first time, her laughter was real. That, she said, still smiling, felt alive. He nodded. That's human. One evening, Sci-Fi showed Elias something in return. She led him deep beneath the city, through tunnels that glowed with faint blue light. At last, they entered a hidden chamber. In the center floated a great sphere of crystal, larger than any ship Elias had seen. Its surface shimmered with shifting patterns. This is the heart of memory, Sci-Fi explained. It holds the voices of our ancestors, every thought, every dream, every sorrow. We never forget. But that is also our curse. We carry too much weight, and it slows us. You humans. You forget. And that gives you freedom. Elias circled the sphere slowly, feeling its hum in his bones. Memories guide us, he said, but they should not trap us. Maybe it is time for your people to make new memories instead of only holding the old. Sci-Fi touched the sphere gently, her hand glowing brighter. Then I will begin. My memory will be different. I will choose to live, not only to remember, but change is never easy. The next day, as Elias and Sci-Fi walked through the city, a group of Valari blocked their path. Their leader, tall and stern, stepped forward. You go too far, Sci-Fi, he said. You bring danger among us. This human twists your mind. You will stop, or we will stop you. Elias felt tension rise. Sci-Fi stood firm. No, I will not stop. I choose my own path. The leader's eyes narrowed, glowing cold. Then you are no longer one of us. Elias placed himself beside Sci-Fi. He knew what exile meant. It was a terrible punishment. Yet she did not flinch. She lifted her chin proudly. Then I will walk my own way, she declared. If being Valari means silence, then I would rather be human. That night, as they left the city behind, Sci-Fi's glow seemed softer, but her steps were strong. Elias walked beside her, silent for a time. Finally he spoke. You made your choice. Yes, Sci-Fi said quietly. It hurt, but it was mine. She turned her eyes to him, glowing softly in the dark. That is what you meant, isn't it? To be human is to choose, even when it costs. Elias nodded slowly. Yes, that is exactly what it means. As the stars rose above them, Sci-Fi looked up, her silver eyes reflecting the endless sky. Then my journey begins now. Teach me, Elias. Teach me how to live, not as a shadow, but as myself. Elias gazed at her, feeling the weight of their path ahead. This was no longer just exploration. This was history unfolding in the quiet valley of a fading world, and deep inside. He knew Sarai's choice would change not only her people, but humanity itself. The valley was silent, except for the soft hum of Valari energy flowing through the glowing trees. Captain Elias Ward and Sarai moved quickly, the glow of their footsteps reflecting off the river below. They had left the main city hours ago, taking a hidden path Sarai knew well. Elias felt unease twisting in his stomach. The warnings of the Valari elders echoed in his mind. If you continue, danger will come. He understood that danger was not just a threat, it was real. They will come, Elias said quietly. You should have stayed in the city tonight. Sarai shook her head. I cannot. Every moment I wait is a moment wasted. I must learn to live, not only to wait. Her words struck him again, the strength and courage behind them. She had chosen this path and she was determined to follow it, no matter the risk. Suddenly, the shadows ahead shifted. From the darkness, a group of Valari emerged. Their forms were brighter than usual, eyes glowing with cold intensity. Elias felt his heart skip. Sarai, the leader said, stepping forward. You defy the council. You risk everything. You will come back with us. Sarai stood her ground. No, I will not return. Elias felt the tension rise. There were too many of them, and they moved faster than humans should be able to. Yet Sarai's presence seemed to slow him, make him feel anchored. Step aside, Elias said firmly. I am her guide. You cannot take her. The leader's eyes narrowed. You humans think you can teach the Valari. You cannot. Leave now, or face the consequences. Elias clenched his fists. He was not trained for battle against the Valari's powers. Their energy could immobilize a person with a thought. But retreating was not an option, not when Sarai's freedom was at stake. Before either side could move. Sarai raised her hands. Light shimmered along her skin. Stop, she said, voice calm but filled with authority. I do not choose to fight. But I will not be taken against my will. The leader stepped closer. Then you force our hand. Sarai's silver eyes brightened. A pulse of energy radiated from her, not violent, but commanding. The Valari froze, their movements hesitant. Elias watched, amazed. Sarai's power was growing not from technology, but from her choice, her will. You see, she said softly to Elias, being human is not about strength. It is about courage and choice. That is what they fear. Elias nodded, feeling the truth in her words. But he also knew they could not stay here. The Valari would not let this confrontation end peacefully. Quickly, Sarai grabbed his arm. Follow me, she whispered. Together, they ran along the hidden paths, twisting between glowing trees and leaping over rivers that shimmered with inner light. The pursuing Valar moved with speed, but Sarai always knew the way. Elias marveled at her knowledge. She knew every path, every hidden crevice. She had grown up in a civilization that mastered the land, yet now she was learning to move like humans, quick, adaptable, unpredictable. They reached a cliff overlooking the main river. Below, the current was strong, the water glowing faintly. Sarai turned to Elias. We must cross, she said. It is the only way. Elias hesitated. It's dangerous. We could fall. Sarai smiled faintly. And yet we must risk it. Humans live because we choose to risk. Together they leaped. The current swept around them, cold but not deadly. Ilias's heart raced as they reached the far bank. Behind them, the Valari stopped at the cliff edge, unable to follow without risking the fall themselves, safe for the moment. Elias and Sarai moved into a cave hidden by the forest. The walls glowed faintly with Valari bioluminescence, casting soft light over the narrow path. Sarai stopped to catch her breath. They will not give up easily, Elias said. If they find us, they may try to erase your memory. They may force you back into the city. Sarai's silver eyes dimmed slightly. I know. That is why I must continue. To become human is not only to learn, but to survive with choice. If I lose my memory, I am no longer me. I will not allow it. Elias reached out, placing a hand on hers. Then we need a plan. We cannot outrun them forever. Sci-Fi nodded. I have an idea, but it requires trust. She led him deeper into the cave until they reached a hidden chamber filled with Valari artifacts. Strange devices hummed faintly, pulsing with energy. In the center was a large platform, covered in crystalline panels. This is the Chamber of Transformation, Sci-Fi explained. It can alter energy fields, even biological form. It is dangerous, but it can shield us, hide us from the Council. Elias studied the chamber. It was ancient, powerful, and clearly not meant for casual use. You're sure about this? He asked. Sci-Fi nodded. I have no choice. To learn to live as humans, we must first survive. This will protect us long enough to leave this world if we must. He swallowed hard. Then I trust you. Let's do it. Together, they activated the chamber. Light shimmered around them, wrapping them in warmth and energy. Elias felt the air thrum with power, a hum that resonated in his bones. Sarai's glow brightened, reflecting her determination. Outside, the pursuing Valari hesitated. The energy barrier of the chamber prevented them from entering. For the first time, Elias realized that Sarai's transformation was not only about learning to be human, it was also about mastering her own strength, her will, and the choice to stand against her people's fear. Inside, Sci-Fi turned to him. You see, Elias, humans survive because they choose, even when it is hard. We Valari often wait for permission, but choice is the real power. Elias nodded, feeling both awe and relief. She had not only saved them both, but had shown him the meaning behind her words, the essence of what? Humanity itself. The night passed slowly, but in the safety of the chamber, Elias and Sci-Fi planned their next steps. They would need to leave the planet soon to avoid further conflict with the Council. Yet Sci-Fi insisted they continue learning before departure. I want to understand more, she said softly. I want to see how humans think, how they act, how they rise after failure. Only then will I truly know. Elias felt the weight of responsibility settle on him. This was no longer just exploration, it was education, guidance, and survival all at once. He could not fail her. He could not fail the chance for her people to rise again. You will learn, he said firmly, and you will survive. Together. Sci-Fi smiled faintly. Then the path begins now. As the twin suns rose, Elias stepped out of the chamber, looking back at the glowing platform. It was a small step, but it marked the beginning of something far larger than either of them. Sci-Fi had chosen her path, and he had chosen to guide her. Together, they faced a future filled with uncertainty, danger, and promise. And deep inside, Elias knew one truth. The greatest power was not technology, not energy, not even the chamber itself. The greatest power was the courage to choose, to live, and to rise, just as humans had done for centuries. Sci-Fi was ready, and so was he. The valley below was quiet, bathed in the soft light of the twin suns rising together. Captain Elias Ward and Sci-Fi stood at the edge of the cliff, looking out over the glowing forest in the hidden Valari city. For the first time, Elias felt hope. They had survived the Council's wrath, escaped the dangers of the Valari, and taken the first steps toward a new beginning. Sci-Fi turned to him, her silver eyes bright, reflecting the light. Elias, she said softly, I am ready to leave. Not just this valley, but my old life to become more. Elias nodded, understanding fully. The journey they had taken together was far more than survival. It was transformation. Not just for Sci-Fi, but for both of them. She had chosen to live fully, to learn, and to embrace humanity in her own way. Their departure was quiet. Sci-Fi led Elias along hidden paths, avoiding patrols of Valari elders who still sought to stop her. The forest seemed to recognize her determination. The glowing trees bent slightly as she passed, almost as if offering protection. Birds of glassy wings circled above, but did not disturb them. Even the rivers seemed calmer, reflecting the light of her resolve. When they reached Elias's survey ship, it looked small and ordinary against the vast alien landscape. But to both of them, it represented freedom. Elias opened the hatch, and Sarai stepped aboard. She looked around, taking in the instruments, the sleeping quarters, and the small lab space Elias had set up. "This will be my new home," she said. Her voice held excitement, but also a hint of nervousness. "I will live as humans live, even in this small space." Elias smiled. "It's a start. Humanity grows in small steps before it reaches great heights. And you will grow too." The first days aboard the ship were strange for Sarai. She had spent her life in a civilization of calm, order, and long memory. Now she had to adjust to the unpredictable, messy, and vibrant ways of humans. Elias taught her to use the instruments, to navigate and to communicate with other human colonies. He also shared small personal lessons: how to eat a meal for enjoyment rather than necessity, how to sleep without always thinking of the past, and how to laugh at mistakes rather than fear them. At first, Sarai struggled. She spilled drinks, misread instruments, and tried to follow routines too perfectly. Yet each time, Elias encouraged her. "Mistakes are human," he said, "and that is how you learn." One evening, after a long day of practice, Sarai sat on the observation deck, staring at the stars. She looked small against the vastness of space, yet her glow remained steady. "Elias," she said quietly, "I feel strange, not like before. I am learning. I can feel freedom, choice, even joy." Elias sat beside her. "That is what it means to be human. Not just knowledge or power, but life itself. Feeling, choosing, growing." Sarai's hand brushed his. It was gentle, trusting, and full of meaning. "Then I am becoming human," she whispered. "Not fully. Not yet. But I am trying." Weeks passed, and the two traveled to distant colonies. Sarai learned quickly, absorbing human customs, humor, and ways of thinking. Her ability to adapt astonished Elias. She made friends with other explorers, shared her knowledge of Valari technology, and even solved problems in ways he had not expected. Yet always, the question lingered: how would the Valari respond if they discovered her? One day, while orbiting a small moon, their communication console beeped urgently. A Valari vessel had appeared, scanning the area. Elias's heart raced. "They found us," he said. Sarai stood calmly, her silver glow steady. "Let them see me as I am. I am no longer just Valari. I am learning to be human. That is my choice. That is my power." The Valari ship approached but did not attack. Instead, it sent a message, demanding her return. Elias and Sarai read it together. Sarai looked at him. "I will answer, but not with fear. I will show them what it means to choose." Elias nodded. "Then do it wisely." Sarai opened a channel to the Valari vessel. Her voice, calm and steady, filled the space. "My people," she said, "I am Sarai. I have chosen a path of life, learning, and growth. I am no longer bound by fear or tradition. I embrace the ways of humans, not to betray you, but to survive and to understand. I ask for your acceptance, not your control." The message ended. There was silence. Then, a response came from the Valari Council. "You have chosen a path few dare," said one elder. "We feared loss, but you have shown courage. Perhaps your way has merit. Return not as Valari, nor as human, but as one who learns freely." Sarai's eyes filled with light. "Then I am free," she whispered. Over the following months, Sarai continued to learn, live, and adapt. Elias guided her, but she also taught him. She shared Valari wisdom about energy, observation, and patience. The two became partners in learning, exploring not only the stars, but the meaning of choice, courage, and life itself. Sarai no longer asked, "What must I do to become yours?" human. Instead, she asked, "What must we do to become ourselves together?" Elias realized then that this was the true meaning of humanity. It was not about physical form, not about rules or culture alone. It was about connection, trust, courage, and the willingness to grow with others. The story of Sarai and Elias spread quietly among human colonies and even reached some Valari communities. Their example sparked hope. Some Valari began to leave the cities, to explore, to learn. Some humans, inspired by Sarai's courage, began to look at the stars differently, seeing possibility where they had seen emptiness. Elias wrote detailed reports, not just of planets and resources, but of life, choice, and courage. He recorded Sarai's journey, documenting not only the transformation of one alien woman, but the growth of understanding between civilizations. Sarai, meanwhile, explored not just the universe, but herself. She learned to laugh fully, to feel deeply, and to embrace mistakes. Each day, she became more human, but also more herself, an identity formed from both Valari and human ways. Stronger than either alone, years later, they returned to Earth. Humans welcomed them with curiosity and respect. Though the story of Sarai was difficult for many to understand, yet she did not seek fame or approval. Her goal was simple: to live, to learn, and to teach that choice and courage could create new beginnings. Children listened to her stories of Valari cities and glowing forests. Scientists studied her understanding of energy and adaptability, and Elias stood beside her, proud but quiet, knowing that the greatest adventure was not exploration of space, but the exploration of life itself. Sarai looked up at the stars one last time from Earth. She smiled. "Elias, we have come far. Yet the journey is not over." Elias nodded. "No, it is never over. Life is always learning, always growing, and now you are more than you imagined." Sarai's glow shimmered softly, reflecting not fear or doubt, but strength and hope. She had chosen to live, and in doing so, had shown a new path for both Valari and humans. Together, they looked at the stars, ready for whatever came next, knowing that courage, choice, and connection could bridge even the widest gaps in the universe. And for the first time, Sarai did not ask to be human. She was herself, fully alive, fully free, and fully ready to shape her own destiny.